think it's time. We got Leighton in the waiting room. We're gonna bring him up again. Like I said, this is technology that's completely new and unique. Uncensored, private, decentralized AI inference is something we've seen before, but they're able to do it in a new and unique way with their pooling system and their sharding system. Again, it kind of sounds tricky when you listen to it from the start, but when Leighton really breaks it down for you, it starts to really make sense. And the mechanisms behind it allows for some really unique use cases. So he's going to come up here and talk about us. Talk about it. The question today is, if we have new primitive technology on our hands, and if this is something that's going to change how we see decentralized inference as we know it. Of course, again, the conversation we continue to have on the show is that inference is the new oil, and it's heavily subsidized by VCs. The cost is going up rapidly. It's hard to get a fixed cost on this stuff. And so when people can find a discount or a decentralized network, it seems like this is kind of the direction we're headed in. With that being said, I think we got to bring up the man to talk about himself. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Mr. Leighton. Leighton, thanks for joining us today.
Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for having me.
Dude, we're excited, man. I got to talk with you the other day very briefly, just trying to understand the technology before, really getting you on. And once it clicked in my mind, it really made sense. It's actually not that complicated the way you broke it down. And so I'm excited for you to get on here and break it down to everybody. As we do, we always start with just founder and background so we can get to know you a bit more. But can you do us a favor of telling us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Leighton. I'm the dev of c0mpute. I'm 21 years old and I study electrical engineering in university. I started c0mpute back in January when I was wondering why I couldn't use my $200 cloud subscription because their data centers were like down hours on end each day. So I started looking into ways how I can build something that provides people with AI that's private and censored and decentralized, and also utilizing the millions of idle GPUs all over the world and giving people money for them.
Nice. I love it. How does your background tie into what you're building today, or does it have any tie in? Just kind of curious how, you're a young man. How do you get into something like this?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in AI. I started using it in 2023 with OpenAI when it was just a playground still, not the ChatGPT. So yeah, but I think for the sharded inference, for example, I'll talk more about it later, but like the start for that was my machine learning class I had last semester, and it gave me some insights on how to start the sharded inference, but I'll talk about that later when we come up.
Great. Well, I mean, that's kind of like a perfect transition into, I guess, what is the product you're building here? Now we understand a bit on your background, and you got interested through this class you took. What's this product you're building, and what's kind of the problem and solution you're maybe solving for?
And if I can jump in real quick here, Leighton, as well, talk about the personal problem that you had. I mean, from what I understand, this comes from a gap that you saw personally while you were while you were building and using this product. So talk about that as well.
Yeah, I was using AI daily, and I had like the $200 Cloud Max subscription. But I remember they were like each day they would go down hours on end, and I was wondering there must be millions of people right now who cannot work on their project again. And I also started thinking about what does Claude know, Anthropic know about like all my private stuff about my project, and I thought it would be just nice to try and build something good for decentralized AI. And I also remember I have my 4090 in my PC, and I tried local AI, but I saw it's possible, but there are also millions of other GPUs all over the world that are not like providing, and I wanted to like puzzle the pieces together, and that's why I created c0mpute.
So maybe we touch on this a little bit because, you were like, decentralized compute's important. This privacy, these uncensored models, like they are important. People are probably going to want private compute. And then you look over and you're like, okay, well, I have this idle GPU. And now something clicks in your mind. Okay, maybe I can, share my idle GPU. It could contribute to a pool. And now it's actually able to generate revenue. Now, this isn't a new thought. There are a lot of people doing this. You take it a step further and actually make the sharding. I guess the sharding is kind of your specialty here. And that's what changes this and makes this really unique. Could you maybe get into, I guess, what sets you apart?
Yeah, so I built a full network without sharding. And at the end of the day, there was a lot of supply. Like a lot of people wanted to give their GPU out, but they're all consumer GPUs. The problem was they couldn't really run any model that there was demand for. People don't really want to pay for a model that's only able to run on a consumer GPU. So that's what actually sets the link to my class, machine learning class. I saw that a token has to go through each layer of a model, but those layers don't necessarily have to be on the same device. They can be split across devices. So that's when I started, okay, why not get a bigger model and split the layers onto different devices, like different consumer GPUs. And that way we can have a big model, but still run by compute that we own.
So I guess what was the problem before this? So we can really get a better grasp and understanding on the market. Before you guys kind of introduced this new primitive, what did it look like before? How did this function?
So before, you only had models that were only able to run on small consumer GPUs. So the quality of the model wasn't really that good. And that's why there wasn't really any demand for decentralized AI, since just paying $10 a month for a subscription that gives you an excellent model, a frontier model, outperforms like paying for a model that you can run on your own GPU. The downside is, of course, you don't own it, but like the price outweighs it and the performance outweighs it. So that's why I started looking into sharded inference. But there are, of course, a lot of problems with sharded inference, like the latencies between the devices. And that's what we're trying to solve right now with especially speculative decoding.
So can you talk to me a bit more about sharding then, so we really understand that? I think what really sets your product apart, and when it started clicking in my mind, was you told me how the traditional model works and then how you guys step in and make it faster and bring down that latency. So could you maybe start us there at the top? What does a traditional model look like and where do you guys change that?
So a normal model just takes a token and runs it through all its layers. Those are deep neural networks, and the token goes through each layer. The thing is, with sharded inference, it's possible, like you just put the layers on different devices and the token goes to each layer on each device and then across devices to the next layers. The problem is it's only one token at a time, and the latencies between all of the devices takes a lot of time and gets like the token per second down. So what was like the major breakthrough that could make sharded inference usable was speculative decoding. If you want, I can give like a simple analogy on that to understand like how it solves the problem of only one token going through the swarm at one time. Do you want me to do that?
Please, yes.
Okay, so I've actually thought about this a lot because it's really not that simple to explain something that difficult. But let's say it's like at the end of the day, you just have to get a model with like different workers answering a prompt. The problem right now with the swarm, without speculative decoding, with normal decoding, is it's only one token at a time going through each worker of the swarm. And let's say this is a pizza. So like the answer of your prompt is making a pizza, and each worker is a pizza worker. With normal decoding, what happens is the layers are split between pizza workers, and you have to basically solve a pizza of 8 pieces. So what happens is you make it piece by piece, and each worker does like one of the ingredients. You have the dough, you have the tomato paste, you have the cheese, and you have the pepperoni, for example. So what happens is the first worker in the swarm, in the chain, does the dough, then it goes to the next worker, it makes the tomato paste, goes to the next, makes the cheese, then the pepperoni, and then it's finished and it goes back to the user or the oven. With speculative decoding, is you add a smaller worker, a draft worker, at the front of the chain. What it does is it guesses slices like in a batch, like 3 or 5 at a time. So what then happens is when the user asks a question, instead of doing one token at a time, there's a smaller draft model or a smaller draft worker doing 3 tokens at a time or 3 slices at a time, and it makes the slices fully with all the ingredients on it. And instead of the separate pizza workers doing the ingredients themselves, they just verify the ingredients. So what happens is you have like 3 slices at a time from the draft worker going through the chain. The first worker checks, okay, all the 3 pieces have the same correct dough. Then it verifies, okay, the 3 tokens or the 3 slices are correct. It goes to the next worker. Then the next worker checks, okay, do they all have tomato paste on it? And it could be that like one token was faulty because of the draft model guessing them, or like one slice had the wrong sauce, for example, barbecue sauce instead of tomato sauce. So then it will say, okay, that token is incorrect, or that slice is incorrect, but the other 2 are correct. And then it goes to the full chain. And at the end, you have basically a batch of multiple tokens being verified as a correct answer, while only going once through the chain. So we have the same latency, but multiple tokens. And that's how you basically cover the latency and how you mitigate them.
So how I'm understanding this is, it's almost like there's an assembly line. It has 8 different steps to go through to get to its finished product. Instead of that, which is the traditional model, what's happening now is the first person in the line is getting the entire thing done. And now the remaining 7 people are actually only there to verify that that first person did things right. And of course, how I understand it is AI models are predictive by nature. And so what happens is the first guy predicts that he gets everything right in the line. He sends it through, and then everyone verifies that this is right. And if they all give the green check mark that it's right, it goes through as an accurate result. Am I understanding that generally correctly? And then, of course, that saves a lot of time rather than each person doing one individual task. It's predict what everyone else is going to do, send it through the assembly line. They all say it's good, 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 and it goes through rather than I work on this, he works on this, he works on this, and it's 8 different iterations.
Yes, so it's basically the same amount of latency because you go to you only have like 1 hop extra because of the extra draft worker, but you have like the same amount of latency, but you have like multiple token throughput at that one time. Of course, there are like some tokens are wrong in the batch because the draft model that guesses is a smaller model that doesn't fit on the entire GPU. That's like the entire problem that we're solving. So it guesses a few tokens of the batch normally wrong, but it's still way more than 1 token at a time.
Got it. And is there anyone doing this right now? Or are you guys kind of the first people to discover this? Curious.
No, there were a lot of people trying to do this experimenting, but they all stay like on the experimenting and prototype phase. And what I'm trying to do is cross that border of prototype and experiment and to actually integrate it into the compute network that we already have right now and actually see it work on world scale, basically.
Can you talk to me a bit more about that compute network? So what does this look like in practice? Okay, we have this, this new system that solves for sharding, and it basically removes the latency issue, which is what was holding the big drawback of these decentralized protocols. What does the network look like now that that blocker is kind of out of the way and solved for?
So currently it hasn't been integrated in the network yet because I still have to do like a lot of work on the protocol itself. But once it's integrated, people could permissionlessly join the network, leave the network, and that's basically my end goal. They can join the network, leave the network, just basically do every model they want. And at the end of the day, it's a network of compute. So you could also do AI training on it. You could also do just running inference training on it. And that's what my end goal basically. But we're still far away from that because there's still a lot of stuff to do, and I'm only alone also. So that's why I'm trying to build open source to have people put up PRs on the GitHub and do each, so multiple people have like their input and.
Got you. Yeah, Drosky wants to ask a question here, and yeah, Drosky, we do questions. It's just got to work into the flow here. He's got a really long one, so I'm gonna try to read this out to you. He said, if inference is running on idle consumer GPUs across WAN, is the model actually shared across multiple remote GPUs per request, or is each request routed to one available GPU node? If it is shared, how are you keeping KV cache locality and avoiding WAN RTT, denominating the code latency? Can you share a per token trace with node regions RTT, verifier data, drafter timings, accepted speculative tokens, P50, P95, time between tokens, GB? Okay, he's using a bunch of buzzwords. Again, this is like, we're trying to keep this show as simple as possible, so this definitely goes over the head of like myself and a lot of people. I'm not sure if you understand that question, but I have like no clue what he's asking.
There's a lot of that question that's still yet to be solved. For now, I'm trying to focus on the usability of it because I don't really want to solve like trustless verification and stuff without showing that it actually works at usable speed. So my main goal right now is speed. And one of the questions was also KV cache. And that was actually a problem I encountered because the higher the context goes, the larger your KV cache grows. That's basically the part that keeps the context. So what I had to do to solve that is like up the headroom. I'm going to use words. I don't know if you're going to understand, but it's basically to address the answer of Drosky. It's basically I had to have more headroom in the VRAM for the KV cache. So I had to either add more nodes, but this would add more latency, So yeah, but right now you can go to the GitHub. It's fixed. I think I have like on GPT OSS 120 billion, I hit like 26 tokens per second at 100K context. So yeah, it was copy retrieval though. It wasn't really prose. So yeah.
Got you. If we could kind of wrap this up, because it is a bit of a complicated conversation. If we could kind of wrap this up with a one-liner on, what I think we're used to traditionally and what you guys solve for to kind of close the loop for everybody. Could you kind of hit us with that right now?
I'm not sure if I entirely understand the question.
Like a one-line summary of what you guys do.
Okay, so we are trying to provide people with AI that we own, basically AI that's private and censored and decentralized, while also enabling people to make money with their idle compute.
Got you. Talk us through the total addressable market here. Obviously, this inference market is growing tremendously fast, and a lot of people have resorted to using Open Router and like going down this cheap inference route. Could you talk me through a little bit on just the market you guys are working in here and how big this could get, so we can really understand?
Well, I suppose everyone really wants AI that's private. We've seen a lot of regular people, retail people, revolting against the data centers and like the big entities. You also have enterprises who want their workflows to be private and not controlled by Anthropic, for example, and all their data leaked. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in the enterprises, like offering contracts, let them use the network for whatever they want. So yeah, there's basically a lot of people who care about their data, and I think we'll see the same amount of revolution that we had with like Facebook and Instagram back in the day about how they collect our data, and that in the same way we'll have a revolution now about AI companies, how they use our data.
Got you. And what's a strategy to corner some of this market? Obviously, like it is a big market, and I think you're right. People generally are going to want to have private data. It's important. There is going to be a revolution at some point. I think when people realize just how much data is being collected and what this means and how much is being sold for. What's your go-to-market strategy here? How do you successfully corner this market? Because like in theory, yeah, it's a huge market, but we need to, take a meaningful chunk. What's the plan to do so?
So for now, I've done a lot of partnerships. Recently, I did PodSquire, use pod.ai, and basically users can use pod to tap into the network. It's also a two-way partnership because people who stake 0 get free daily inference. I'll sure we'll talk about that later, but they get free inference and they can sell their inference on use pod to people who want to buy it from that market.
Nice.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Jill, you were gonna jump in?
Yeah, I had a quick question for you. So you mentioned before that there are other people building in this sector, and they're in prototype phase. They're staying there, and you're trying to make something that people can actually use. What makes them stay in prototype phase, and what makes you want to kind of go beyond that?
Well, I think when you work on something solo, there's not really an overhead above you saying you have to do that, and you're more free to do what you want. So it's maybe a bit unorthodox, but my way of building is just basically putting it out there and see the reaction of the people, and like reacting to that, like doing fixes, doing like changing stuff. So basically that, and like right now. It's still a prototype. The sharded inference is still a prototype, but like the actual product of the compute network, and that's like one model running one GPU running one single model is already live, and you can just go to compute.ai, ask a question, and it will answer just privately and censored, and it's running on somebody else's GPU.
Got it.
Can you talk me through the customer on this too? I mean, we always talk about the customer prototype and who the target audience is, and it ties nicely with your go-to-market strategy here. But talk me through, who is the customer and how do you facilitate? Because it's a two-sided equation, right? You have to have the supply side. You have to make sure you have the inference for people to use, and you have to have the demand side, people that actually want to use it. So when you look at your customer and you look at this pool that you're operating in, who is the prototype of the customer that's going to come and use your inference, and how do you get enough supply and demand on both sides?
Yeah, so for now we have a lot of supply but not a lot of demand. So when I look at, I don't really have that much data on my customers because first of all we're private, so we don't collect any data on our customers. So it's really hard to say who are our customers. But when I look at like public feedback on socials, it's most often people who care about AI deeply, who are themselves using local AI and want to check out this new technology, or it's people who like the Uncensored part of it. But that's not really my main target customer. So yeah.
Who would be your main target customer?
People who care about like their data, who care about private AI and AI that doesn't like give biased answers back to them.
Yeah, you know, and a conversation we keep having is at some point in time, and I'm not sure if it's happened yet, but these enterprises are going to need to switch to a private model because they just can't use these frontier models because the data is going, you know, they don't want their data going to OpenAI or Anthropic. And so they know this is a big issue. So right now they have custom data centers being built. They have people coming in and setting all this stuff up for them. You know, what it seems like in the future, we're heading in this direction where enterprises are just going to use a decentralized, uncensored model that is privacy preserving. Is that something you see happening? And is part of your strategy going to be targeting these enterprise clients?
Yes, definitely. Because in a way, I think the supply of this network could be unlimited. There are millions of GPUs all over the world, which would also make it very cheap once every GPU all over the world like connects to it. So I think I could offer, if you can offer enterprises a cheap deal that's private and that's uncensored, I think they would like 100% of the time take that deal.
My biggest gap is, okay, so many people have computers. There's all these GPUs that are just sitting idle. Like, this is the crux of the question. How do we get people from right now who aren't, you know, selling their spare compute to, hey, I got this thing sitting around, I can make a couple extra bucks, why not do it? Like, when and how do we take that leap from people just having this idle compute to actually joining a network and selling the idle compute that they have?
Yeah, I think this happens really fast. There's a little bit of a snowball effect on the social aspect because, for example, Jake from Coinfence recently posted a tweet just saying, "Oh, I connected my GPU to the Compute AI network, and I'm earning money on idle compute." And there were like a lot of people asking, "How do I do that? How do I make money with my GPU?" I think there are a lot of people who want to try that, and they instantly go to Compute.ai. And I try to make it as seamless as possible. There's two types of worker. You have a worker where you have to type in your with CLI, but you also have a worker that works in the browser itself. So you just have to do one click in the browser, and the GPU runs through the browser with no like setup or anything.
Got you. I'm looking at the site here.
Yes.
I want to talk about Traction a bit. How's Traction been? When did you guys launch this? When did this go live? And how's Traction and growth been since doing so?
So we've been live for about 20 days. And at first it was a bit slow. I think we had like only, at the start, you only had like 10 people providing compute, which was 2 of them were me. So I think right now we are at 80 workers online. And I think like 2 days ago, we had like 100 and a bit. So yeah, it's like, it multiplied by 10. And I think there's a lot of people wanting to try this out.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Do you know, and again, you're private, but are a lot of these coming from like surplus? This is a typical conversation we have. You know, people love the Venice model, VVV, and of course, staking Venice gives you Diem inference, right? Daily inference of Diem. And we've seen a lot of these people go to platforms like Surplus, Squire, maybe your platform to actually sell some of this, you know, spare daily compute that they're not going to use. Do you know if that's part of the like cohort of people that are using your platform?
Well, I've only done the partnership with USpot yesterday. So, and there's also no really any way to check if the inference is being sold. I mean, maybe on the USpot side, but on my side, I don't really collect that data. So also all the data you see here are just the numbers. It's not like from profiles specific. So it's really hard. That's maybe like an issue that other companies don't have. They can do data analysis per customer, but my data is just like numbers without any profiles attached to them.
Okay, maybe talk to me then what this UsePod, this partnership does for you. You obviously made that connection to Chris, good friends with Chris on the show. I think we had him on yesterday or the day before. I can't remember exactly.
Yep, yesterday.
But Was it yesterday? Dude, time flies. But he's great guy, great entrepreneur, and we love what they're doing over there. What does this partnership with UsePod unlock?
Well, at first, I hope like a lot of supply. No, a lot of demand. Sorry, a lot of demand, because that's basically my main goal right now, is to get a lot of more of demand. That's also why I'm building the sharded inference, because if we can offer bigger models, more people would pay for it. And also a way for people to stake more, because if they can sell the daily inferences from their stakes, they are like more likely to stake, because we are actually right now at an all-time high of zero staked, with 49,390,000 zero staked. So that's nice to have. That's an all-time high.
Okay, well, let's talk about that then. People are staking zero. You mentioned staking zero gets you daily inference, which of course you have this partnership with UsePod. You can go and sell it on there if you don't want to use it. Walk me through some of the tokenomics and why you need a token for this network to run, and where it ties into the whole thing.
Yeah, so staking is basically a network effect token. Zero is a network effect token, and it basically gives users and workers, like on both sides, a way to accrual value from the network. So we've done 15,000 on buyback and burns, and we've also given $15,000 to paid out to stakers. And so yeah, it's basically a way for people to see economic growth when the network grows.
So tell me how this works. I stake my zero token.
Yes.
In exchange for doing so, how am I getting paid out? What do I get? What are the benefits of this?
Okay, so the benefits, first of all, you get the daily inference allowance. Basically, you get free daily credits to use on the network. You also, if you're a worker, you get a higher revenue share. Instead of 70%, you get 80% of the total job cost. And you also, basically by staking zero, you own zero, and the token also gets buyback and burned.
Out of these workers, how many of them on average do you think are staking to get that extra 10% bump in revenues?
If I have to guess, I think it's about, right now we have 80, maybe 15. It's really hard to tell because I don't collect that data, because it's like the privacy part of it. So yeah.
Got you. Okay, so this is a network effect token. You can stake it to get free inference. Tell me how that works. Where does this inference come from? People can go and sell it on UsePod. Just walk me through how that whole situation works.
So there's a daily pool of credits being handed out to stakers. That's split weighted by how many zero you have staked, and the cost of this pool basically gets cut from the treasury, and the treasury gets value from the token fees and from the share of each job. Like you have, I think, with workers who don't stake, they get 70-30 split. So 70% goes to them, 30% to the treasury. Workers who stake get 80% and 20% to the treasury. So that daily inference credits pool basically gets taken from that 20 or 30% that goes into the treasury.
Okay, and then with that treasury, of course, like you said, 30% to non-stakers that are working on this protocol, 20% keeps for people that are, or 20% for the stakers. Sorry, I kind of butchered that a little bit. But what happens with that treasury? Obviously, you have to make a living here. You're running a business here. I don't think this is a nonprofit. How much of that do you keep? What happens with that treasury? Is it going towards future development? Maybe just walk me through what that looks like.
So I've recently done a tweet about my Vast.ai receipt. It's a Vast I use to run GPUs all over the world to do testing on the sharding inference engine, and it costs a lot. I think it costs about $200 a day, minimum. Wow. For just testing and renting out GPUs. So a lot of the money goes to that. And yeah, also goes back because I want to make the usage of compute.ai as seamless as possible. So if you go to the main website, there's like this box saying like talk about anything you want. And the thing is that's add-on usage. That's usage for people that don't have an account, that don't pay for it. So that also goes from the treasury. So I think once you sign up, you have like 5 free prompts that also comes from the treasury. I just wanted to make it as seamless as possible for people to use this.
So I guess the question is, I guess there's a question around burn rate. what's the health of the treasury? Like, I mean, has the token fees, like, or have you guys seen like a lot of growth in the treasury from the token fees? I mean, what's the health of the treasury looking like, if that's something that you want to talk about?
The health of the treasury is excellent because we Zero ran to like 12 million, which generated a lot of fees. So right now we're in a surplus, a massive surplus in the treasury.
Wow, nice. And have you been approached by anyone like I mean, as much as you can talk about, and know some of these things you want to keep close to the vest, but I mean, have you seen any interest, like, from, whether it be VCs, private investors, or anyone just looking to help you build?
Yeah, when we went to 12 million, my inbox was like spammed a lot, and it was hard to like filter through like the quality DMs and comments. But I've had a lot of interest from VCs, especially because they like to invest in new technology, and I've had many like calls with them, and also a lot of just regular AI people, like AI people that are big on Twitter, and they show interest, and then they ask me like, how are you doing this, and then I show them the GitHub, etc. And yeah, many interesting talks. I don't think I can share anything further, but I've been in a lot of talks with VCs and AI people.
Are you seeking future funding on this, or are you looking to continue to do this bootstrapped?
I mean, I would like to do this bootstrapped because it gives me full freedom on everything. But I think if the opportunity shows and I feel okay with it, I think it's the right choice, I would probably go with a VC.
I want to also talk about useful proof of work. We have Knock coming on after this. We've seen Pearl get really popular. And these are platforms basically that, AI is doing these math equations, and to solve for the AI and compute and inference and whatever the AI is solving for, it can also secure a blockchain. And so you're using compute already for your AI, but you can also be using it for blockchain in tandem and be earning money as someone securing a network. Have you been thinking about a useful proof of work? I mean, with everyone coming through your platform already using this inference, could they also be earning, a network token, a useful proof of work network token?
Yeah, people ask me and tell me like, why, if you're making such a sharded inference network, why don't you like make your own layer one blockchain? And my response to that is, well, basically, first I want to like build it out, see if it actually works, and try to like make a functional product, and then I'll start thinking about making like migrating to a layer one. But I think it's good to like have a thought about that, but it's still like for way in the future. But I have seen the useful proof of work. I've been in DMs with Alan from Quai Network, and I think what they are trying to do is something really good, because why waste all that like GPU power on just solving SHA-256 when you can run inference on it? So.
Got you. Maybe I guess the next follow-up question on this is, why do you need the blockchain? Like, why does this have to happen? You guys choose Solana. You're doing this all on Solana, which is fast and cheap, and we understand that. But does something like this fundamentally need the blockchain to even work?
No, the network is apart from the blockchain. A blockchain is just nice to have a very integrated token to it, because then like the network and the token works in synergy, and it's basically almost one. But now the token is on Solana, the network is separate, it's not on the blockchain for compute.
So you have this network that enables new possibilities via, your sharding mechanism that removes some of the latency barrier that, was once a pretty big issue. What kind of comes next? I mean, if you had to walk me through your roadmap and some of your thinking here, you've got really great bootstrap distribution, right? You launched this, people loved it. They're like, wow, this is a new useful primitive. We love the spin that you're putting on this. We see how big the inference marketplace is. We see how important private decentralized compute is. What kind of comes next for you? You're having these conversations with VCs. You have this distribution. Like, what are your next steps?
So my next steps is just finishing the sharding engine and integrate it into the compute network, and basically become the first sharded inference network on Solana.
Got you. Is someone able to copy this? Like, if people see your success, and I mean, obviously, I'm sure they have, like you said, you've been flooded, could they just come across and try to replicate it?
Yes, they can, because everything is open source, and that's also a way for me to prove that the things I'm posting is like not bullshit. So there are people who have already like copied, and I see them launching coins. But in my opinion, if you launch coins and try to like extract value from just copying something, I think that's basically, I mean, people already see like, okay, yeah, that's not going to work.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess I continue to think on this, like, how do we grow this from where we are today, where we have people proven out, like you have early stage of product market fit. How do we go from early stage of product market fit to the dominant inference platform that everyone is, renting their spare and idle GPU compute to?
I think it's just making compute so good enough that it's like basically impossible to ignore. It's like also one of the promises I've made. I recently, not recently, but like a few weeks ago, I put out a tweet saying one of my stating 3 promises, and one of those promises were I'm going to make compute so good that it's basically impossible to ignore. And that's like basically how I'm going to do it, trying to do it.
Interesting.
So,
go ahead, Jill.
If you're, well, finish your question. I think mine's will take us in a different direction. So go ahead.
No, that's fine. I was just saying this is fascinating. I think I'm generally kind of good on questions, so I'll let you take it. I was just going to say it's been a fascinating conversation.
Yeah, it definitely has. And we appreciate you, Leighton, for joining us today. It's really just interesting trying to break all this stuff down. I mean, were you in crypto before this? I don't think we got that side of your background when you first joined the stream.
Yeah, I started. Actually, I think my first interaction with crypto was in 2016 with like the first like Coinbase wallet stuff. But of course, I was like, I think I was like 13, maybe it. Yeah. So I couldn't really invest. I knew people who wanted to invest, like my uncle, but they didn't do it. So he's still like regretting it till this day. But then I started passively investing in like 2020. 2021 with like $20 a week, like it was my weekly allowance or something from my parents. And then back in 2024, I started with Solana, and from then it just basically grew. And then because I also had interest in AI, and since then I've just been building, trading on Solana on all the chains.
Why Solana specifically? Any particular reason that you chose Solana over some other chain?
I think it's where I made the most amount of money, and it's where I'm home to, so that's why.
Solana's home. I love that. Just generally asking you about your founder's experience. I mean, I'm assuming this is your first time, being a founder of a product. What was the benefits of launching a token? I know that of course it's connected to the network. It'll grow alongside it. But did you see like any drawbacks of launching a token or any benefits? What was your experience like?
So the reason I launched a token is because I'm solo dev. I don't really have that much connection, and I know launching a token gives you a very big initial exposure, and that's basically what happened. And it gave me that. So now it gives me a fair shot of trying to build something out. Of course, there are many drawbacks, people calling you a scammer and just flooding your DMs and basically trying everything to get your morale down and trying to get your token down. And for those people, I just want to say, like, I'm only just trying to do something good for decentralized AI. And I think a lot of people forget that. And I'm also building an open source. So if you have any doubts of what I say, just go check the GitHubs, go look at the GitHub, go look at the code, try it out yourself and verify yourself. And only then you can DM me, ask me any questions. And of course, I'll make mistakes, but I'll always try my best.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, building in public always comes with its, pros and cons. But always like hearing from the founder side what your experience was like. I mean, if it wasn't for the kind of distribution that a token gives you, would you been able to build something like this, outside of just the opportunity that crypto provides?
Yes, I think I would be able to build it, but I don't think it would have catched on, or I would have had the motivation to continue, because it's really hard to build something. I've tried it before, and it's really hard to build something with no interest in it, and with no feedback on it, especially because you are solo.
Got you. Wow. Go ahead, Dom.
I just want to kind of close this off with the question on, how you get this demand side. You said supply is not an issue. And I think this is the common thing that I've talked to with the Surplus team, with the Use Pod team, with anyone doing this decentralized inference stuff. It seems demand is kind of the hardest part here. How do you go and get these users to buy this inference and buy this stuff? Because supply seems to be fine. It's the demand side that may be a little more difficult.
So it really starts with, like, very simply put, just have something to offer that they want to buy. And right now, with like without the sharded inference, you only have these models capable of running on the consumer GPUs, and people simply don't want to buy that, don't want to pay for that. So it really comes down, for me, is just to like develop this sharding inference engine and build it out and add it to the network, and then offer models that people want to pay for. And hopefully from that, it will automatically follow into people buying it and paying for it.
One last question, just I think to really solidify how the system actually works. You mentioned like latency being the biggest issue, and that's why your sharding technology is so unique. What does that look like practically, right? If I go on any of these inference providers and I choose a specific model and I type any question, it takes some time, whatever, and then it spits out my answer. Could you tell me, I guess, practically as a user, what that looks like the old way versus what that looks like with your sharding technology and what compute fixes?
So in essence, the sharding technology doesn't really bring faster speeds compared to older types. Like if you go right now, it doesn't really give faster speeds, but it solves the problem of being able to run bigger models on smaller GPUs. So the problem was you cannot run a big model, bigger quality model on a small GPU. So split it across a few smaller GPUs.
Got you. And okay, so that's what we're looking for, is people want these high quality, big models. And typically the decentralized inference providers can only give you either the old models or some of the smaller models. And it's like, no, we need to get these enterprises,
Yes.
the big models that everybody really wants, because that's where the demand is. And to do that, we need to introduce this sharding technology that splits it across different GPUs.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what hit it home. And I think that's the big thing that people are missing. You can have all these inference providers, all these marketplaces, but if they're not providing the models that people want, no one's going to use them. And ultimately, it wasn't possible until recently and now with what you're doing at Compute and with the zero token that people can actually get these big models. And what's happening is they're split up across multiple GPUs to create it in a decentralized manner.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, very cool. I think it makes a lot of sense. Well, we appreciate you. This is a big vision. If it's achieved and you guys can knock it out of the park, I think you have a big market in front of you. We're going to keep eyes. I think if people want to watch this and understand if it's going well and being successful, what's the best metrics they can look at? Is it just going to be contributors to the network? Is it going to be workers? What should people be paying attention to?
Especially for the sharded inference, is they should go onto GitHub and look at recent commits. That's basically the latest update you can get of what I'm building. And for people who are not that tech savvy, cannot look at code, just put GitHub in any AI you use daily or any agent you have, and ask it just the questions you have, and it should like answer without any bias.
All right, very cool, Layden.
Awesome.
We appreciate you.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we'll be
Layden.
talking soon. When some of these workers start scaling up and the numbers start looking great, let's get you back on. We'll talk about updates and how things have progressed.
Yeah, see you then.
All right, see you, brother.
All right, Layden.
Yep.
Cool.
Takeaways, Dom?
Yeah, takeaways. And at the very end, I think is when it really sunk in why this was important, because for the big conversation, it's not, okay, this is just another inference marketplace. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking at. Okay, this is just another inference marketplace. Yes, it's important, but you got a lot of competition. I think finally at the end, when it really started clicking, was, okay, yes, this is an inference marketplace, but the issue with inference marketplaces is the fact that they can't provide the models that people really want, the frontier models. Now, what's actually happened is through this new sharding technology, what you can do is provide these frontier models, the models that everyone wants to use, for much cheaper. And what's actually happening is it's taking, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is, GPUs, and splitting it up between all of them to provide that model. This wasn't possible before. That's, I think, the big crux. Once people understand that, it starts to make a lot of sense. So my takeaways are, yeah, doing something cool and unique. It's gotten picked up by a lot of really interesting people. Of course, I just brought up pictures of some of the people that were looking into this and I think really interested. We saw Sammy, of course, talked about it. Look, the right people have eyes on this. And, for me, that's, I think, pretty validating. So, yeah, cool conversation.
Yeah, very, very cool. They haven't gone through an ace round or anything, right? Like,
no, they haven't. And you know what? I should have asked about that.
I literally just thought about it. I mean, he mentioned that, you know, VCs and some big folks are reaching out to him. So interested, would be interesting to see like what direction that side of things, what direction that side of things take or going. Because this is pretty massive. Like it's starting to kind of click for me at the end. It started to kind of click for me as you were putting it together at the end there. As far as what they're building exactly.
Yeah, it started to click for a few people. So yeah, nonetheless, it's interesting. We'll see how it goes.